take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow feelings of tension, stress, or anxiety to leave your body now. That's it. Deeper and deeper relaxed with each and every breath. Perhaps you can imagine as you breathing in a feeling of relaxation that perhaps even has a color. Imagine breathing in that color of relaxation and resourcefulness. And as you exhale, just imagine a darker color leaving your body. So you're breathing in a bright color of relaxation and resourcefulness. And as you exhale, just allow your body to release the tension and see that tension in a darker color leaving your breath. Now, I don't know if your eyes are open or if your eyes are closed, but feel free as you breathe in next to breathe in that feeling of relaxation, and if your eyes aren't already closed, and it's safe to do so, on the outward breath, just close those eyes now, taking you deeper and deeper relaxed. That's right. I want you to use the power of your imagination, which is already more vivid and stronger now because of this feeling of relaxation that you've been breathing in. And simply by releasing the tension, the power of your imagination has increased. And use that power of imagination to imagine that you are at the very center of the universe. Not metaphorically. I want you to teleport yourself to a space station, some kind of spaceship, but there, right in the center of the universe. Imagine what that would be like to be there in some kind of spaceship or space station, there in the middle of the universe. I want you to imagine that the gravity settings on this space station are set to mirror that of Earth. So in fact, you can just feel as you would do if you were on Earth, except there you are, in a spacecraft, in the middle of the universe. And you get a sense of being in the middle of the universe, and that things are spinning around you. Now it might be, because of where you're located, that you can see perhaps planets, perhaps other stars, as you look through perhaps the windows of this spacecraft. Get a sense of being billions upon billions of light years away from yourself and your problems, and just allow yourself, just for now, to be somewhere entirely different. That's right. And I want you to imagine somewhere in this spacecraft or space station is what sometimes you would see in science fiction films, some kind of hibernation unit where you can take a deep sleep so that as you travel through space, perhaps for years and years, you don't age at the same rate. Just imagine there's some kind of device like that, perhaps a bed that you can kind of climb into, and then perhaps put something around you, giving you oxygen. And imagine that you feel deeply relaxed as you increase the oxygen in that hibernation unit. That's it. As you breathe in that feeling of oxygen, allow it to oxygenate your cells. And you don't intend to increase the depth of your breathing. That just happens all by itself. It happens all by itself because the body craves that oxygen. So as you breathe deeper, you're allowing your cells to absorb more of that fresh oxygen. And as you exhale, the carbon dioxide, but perhaps any additional tension, leaves your body. And in doing so, the machine simply takes it away, ensuring you've got a fresh supply of that oxygen. And sometimes when you have more oxygen than your body needs, you can go lightheaded, a bit dizzy, woozy perhaps. But notice how good it feels. Almost like your cells are being energized and you're able to feel deeply, deeply at peace and relaxed. That's right. So relaxed, in fact, that you can imagine what it would be like to hibernate. Hibernate like some mammals do, like a bear, perhaps, that can hibernate for an entire winter. And in this spacecraft, inside this hibernation unit, you could hibernate for years if you wanted. But let's just imagine how good it would feel to just feel that you can completely switch your mind off just for a while. I'll count down from 5 to 1 and you can imagine what it would be like to be at the center of the universe and drifting off into deep sleep just as you currently are in deep space. 5, feeling deeper and deeper relaxed. 4, allowing any tension in your neck and shoulders to melt away now. That's it, loosening and taking you deeper and deeper relaxed. That's it. 3, feeling as you take a deep breath of that oxygenated air, releasing that tension, feeling drowsy, feeling sleepy, feeling a desire to yawn. 2, feeling deeper and deeper relaxed. And 1, taking you to the very depths, the deepest levels of relaxation possible. And imagine falling asleep now. Not just falling asleep, but going into hibernation. And I don't know if you've been in hibernation for hours, days, or even weeks, but just imagine that you've been in hibernation so long, and then something happens to activate that dreamlike state where you're able to have vivid dreams that feel real while you're having them. And I want you to imagine that in this dream, you are in the same space station or spacecraft, and you can see your physical body there in that hibernation unit, but you're able to wander around that space station. And I want you to get a sense of collecting all those problems that you've been carrying around with you. Some people do that. Some people collect problems, unresolved issues. And I want you to get a sense that as you start collecting and thinking about all those things to think about, to worry about, problems to solve but you haven't solved them yet, get a sense of it being linked perhaps to tension, perhaps even weight. In many cases, there can be a feeling that as you're carrying around these problems, these issues, these open loops that haven't been resolved, there can be weight attached to them. Your mind can think about things, even if there's nothing to do, and keep holding on to that weight. And sometimes you might even ask yourself, why does everything feel so heavy? And I want you to imagine here in your imagination, in this space station, in the center of the universe, that you can start putting numbers attached to these different problems. And I want you to think about the 3 heaviest problems or issues that you're still holding on to right now. This is just your imagination, so you can hallucinate these problems as if they're real. Maybe it's a financial problem, a relationship problem, a habit, an addiction. In your mind, you already know what your major, most significant problems are. But what if we could take that weight away from those problems? Start imagining those problems there as if they're real, tangible things. Because in your mind, you already know what certain things weigh. You know if you were to pick up a loaf of bread, how much that would weigh. You know, if you were to lift up a chair, or perhaps a heavy book, how much these things weigh. And I want you to get a sense of your 3 biggest unresolved issues, or 3 biggest problems, the things that weigh on your mind. If you were to put a weight on those, feeling it pressing down on you, how much would it weigh? A few pounds, a few kilos, a ton? Get a sense, just in your imagination, of how heavy these problems are. And sometimes it's not just the weight of these problems, but the speed of these problems. Sometimes you can think about one thing after another thing after another thing, and even before you can give any attention to one problem, your brain is already thinking about another issue. So you can't escape, because you're not giving yourself the time to actually think about what you could do to resolve any of these things. It's almost like your brain is just giving you stuff to think about. But here we are, in the center of the universe, inside a dream within a dream, in your imagination, and here we can do things differently. And, as many people have heard, of the idea of the theory of relativity. Essentially, someone could stay on Earth, and an identical twin could travel around the universe, and they could return to Earth at different ages, because time is relative. And if that's the case, and you're no longer on Earth, imagine that you can slow everything down. Imagine that an hour on Earth is the equivalent of 10 hours here on this space station. And therefore, you can just slow everything down. And as you start thinking about these problems, see them in slow motion. Imagine the words in your head are slowing down to 1/10 of the speed. So if your mind creates these what-if problems, where you're fighting shadows, fighting problems that aren't even solvable because they exist only in the future, what if those what-ifs could slow all the way down to enable you to respond? Respond with a simple answer to any what-if question. I'll handle it. Which is true. It is true because you will handle it one way or another. Everything gets resolved, even the things you don't resolve. It just has a way of finding its natural course. And by slowing down that inner dialogue and those racing thoughts in your head, you're able to have the time to actually think about what you can action and what you can't, what you need to deal with and what you don't even need to think about. And as you slow it all down, just imagine you in the center of the universe with everything spinning around you. Imagine everything spinning around you, slower. And as you do so, get a sense that you've got more time to process what's going on in reality and in your own mind. And in doing so, you are able to relax, to let go of those issues. And let's go back to thinking about those 3 major problems. Because many problems aren't real problems because we've never defined exactly what it is. And I wonder, for each of those problems, if you're able, with fresh eyes, to ask yourself again, what actually is the problem here? Because if there is no resolution to the problem, then it's not a problem. Anything unsolvable is not a problem. It's simply a circumstance. And the easiest thing to do is to accept those things that you can't control and you can't change, and then focus on the things that you can influence and you can change. So ask yourself again, what is the actual problem here? And then allow your mind to effortlessly consider a resolution or a way of mitigating or reducing the impact of that problem. Sometimes it's actually worth thinking about the worst case scenario, accepting that that might happen, and then focusing your resources on how you can reduce the likelihood of that worst case scenario happening. And as you do so, the moment your mind starts thinking about solutions and clarifying the problem, you unlock latent resources deep in your unconscious mind. The moment that you accept that a solution is possible, you plant the seed of possibility that your unconscious mind will provide a solution for you. And sometimes the biggest problems actually become the biggest opportunities. Opportunities for a fresh start. Opportunities to learn with the benefit of hindsight how to do something new. What if a problem is, in a strange way, your own Groundhog Day, an opportunity to learn the lesson from the problem to equip you for similar or even bigger problems like that in the future? What if those feelings of heaviness are opportunities for you to become stronger? Because when I hear the word heavy, I think of weights. And I think that if I went to the gym and was lifting very light weights, I would see very little progress. I couldn't expect to get stronger. In fact, the heavier weights I lift, the stronger I become and the more resourceful I can feel. What if your heavy problems are an opportunity for you to become stronger? And now I want you to do one final thing so that you can feel infinitely more resourceful here in the center of the universe. Here you are in a space station, and gravity has been set to the same as it would be on Earth. And I want you to see what it would feel like to increase the heaviness of all these problems. Imagine what that would feel like to increase the heaviness. And imagine that you've got a remote control or some kind of setting, perhaps even voice command, to increase the heaviness of gravity. And do that. And feel that as you make those problems, those issues, those thoughts heavier and heavier, your body would need to become stronger and more resilient to adapt. In fact, the most resilient and resourceful people are those that feel confident that they can tackle and cope with the most complex and difficult problems. What if these problems are the opportunity for you to become stronger? Notice that as you increase the gravity and those problems get heavier, that you feel stronger. And then imagine reversing the gravity so it's only half what it would be in Earth. And not just the problems get lighter, but also you start to float. You're able to drift and float around this space station or spacecraft, feeling light, feeling resourceful, having a new belief that problems and issues are an opportunity for you to clarify things, figure out what you can accept and what you can change, and knowing what to do in either situation, feeling like your biggest problems are your biggest opportunities to become stronger, more resourceful, and more resilient. And then you realize this is a thought within a thought. And imagine stepping back into that hibernation unit so your mind and your body become one. And then imagine that the hibernation unit is opening. And perhaps it's been many weeks or days, but because time is relative, in real terms, you've just been in this hibernation unit for a few minutes. But you get a sense that you're coming out of the hibernation unit with a different perspective on problems, feeling more resourceful, feeling that perhaps half of all of your problems you can simply resolve just by deciding to clarify what the problem is and whether or not there is a viable solution to that problem. Considering the worst case scenario and doing whatever you can to avoid that outcome. Sometimes the best way to deal with overwhelm is to get everything out of your head onto paper and then realize that it's not as much as you think it is. Because sometimes the same thoughts come back again and again and again, but there aren't as many as you think. You feel more resourceful, stronger, that your problems are essential for your growth and development, your resourcefulness and resilience. And then you realize that you're not at the center of the universe, and even metaphorically, you are the center of your own universe, but so is everyone else in their worlds. Allow yourself to accept who you are, and also accept other people are just as important to themselves as you are to you, and therefore you don't need to worry too much about people thinking about you or you thinking about them. You just enable yourself to chart a trajectory towards a brighter future. In a few moments' time, I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken with a feeling of resourcefulness, a feeling of optimism, a feeling that you can slow down your thoughts when it comes to problems and increase the feeling of strength and clarity when it comes to dealing with problems. And even if it's just within your mind, lightening the load so that you can almost turn off gravity when it comes to those heavy problems. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.